and start the program for the community dialogue with Philippine Senator Sonny Trillanes. So before we start, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Acedillo. I am the Secretary General of the Chicago chapter for Unipro Chicago. And just a thank you to acknowledge the collaborating organizations with the Filipino American Human Rights Association. So tonight we have our food sponsor, thank you again, Countryside Bank. And then we also want to acknowledge the venue provider, Hana Center. Thank you so much for giving us this space to speak tonight. And we also wanted to have the welcome and the ground rule setting with Madam Juanita first. So, whenever you're okay. Okay. So, before Madam starts her welcoming, I just want to also acknowledge some of the organizations, just so you know who they are. Tonight we have Circa Pintig, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to the arts and developing these community arts and the immigrant experience with the changing multicultural landscape of America. In addition, we also have FAGPAC, which is the Filipino American Grandparents Association of Chicago. They are a nonprofit senior organization that was primarily formed to alleviate nostalgic feelings of senior members being far away from home. They are here for social, recreational, civic, healthcare awareness, and religious pursuit for the interests of individual well-being. We also have Filipino American Human Rights Alliance, FAHRA-Illinois, which is a U.S.-based concerned group of Filipino Americans who decided to come together to promote and protect human rights for all through civic reflection, usap-usapan, and people working together, bayanihan, and by being knowledgeable and aware of the events happening here in the U.S. and the Philippines. And lastly, we have Filipino American Unity for Progress, or Unipro, which is a nonprofit organization that envisions a unified and engaged Filipino America. Unipro's mission is to engage Filipino Americans through collaboration, advocacy, and education. If you would like more information about these organizations that are collaborating together for tonight's event, there is a one-page document that you can take a look at more information and how to contact them. And so then we'll go ahead and give it away to Manang Anita.
I'm actually not Ilocano, so I'm not Manang. I'm known as Tita. Tita. O Ate. That's right. Okay. I do give you a warm welcome, and I think you all should be given a medal for bravery, for trudging through the snow and driving or walking or taking over, but it really took a lot of effort and will, strong will to say, I've got to make it there. I've got to hear Senator Trillanes. How many senators have come to the Chicago area? Tell me. Anybody?
Senator Aquino. Ninoy Aquino.
When did he come?
He was president.
Senator Sagisag came here in long time.
Pimentel, Manglapos.
Yeah, Manglapos was before martial law. Okay, but Senator Trillanes, we are delighted and honored to have you join us. So on your way out for your Medal of Honor, you can have take out. Take home pala, take home. I do want to say that FAHRA is the product of our concern for what is happening in the Philippines that we have been reading about as extrajudicial killings, but we didn't have an organization to really address the issue because Jerry and I started FAHRA in 2006, and FAHRA is an alliance of Filipinos to increase civic engagement and civic participation. But we thought human rights should really be in the forefront of our consciousness. So we invented the name FAHRA, which is a good word. If you say para, it means stop, right? Stop the killings. So for today, we would really like to have a democratic process as well, so that everybody has a chance to ask a question, not only those with press cards, right, but just everyone who has a seat or even standing up. So how do you think we can make a democratic process for tonight? How might that happen? How might that happen, you think? Do you want to raise your hands? Do you want to just stand up? How do you think we can make this a real community forum and a real community dialogue? We don't have this many chances, right? We don't have this many chances. So what do you think? How can we make this a community forum and a community dialogue? Ask questions. So we will have time. We will have, I think, half an hour time for question and answer. We did ask Senator Trillanes to give us, I think, a half-hour talk, to give us a basic framework of how he thinks about conditions in the Philippines and what he thinks about human rights, and how we in Chicago and in the U.S. can expose these violations of human rights and continue to seek redress. Many of us have all kinds of copies. There's a Human Rights Watch report here. There's an Amnesty International report there. We're all trying to equip one another with knowledge and with this kind of space for us to get questions answered. So, will somebody lead us in prayer? Sister Dina.
Hello, everyone. You should have a copy of two things. One is a general prayer, and then the other one is a prayer for peacemakers. So we'll begin with the call to prayer, and then I will be doing this reading primarily by John Deere, who's a strong proponent for peace and nonviolence. Then we'll have a slight pause, and then I'll usher us all into this prayer for peacemakers by saying, "Let us pray." In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. O God, come to our assistance. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. Blessed are the peacemakers. They shall be recognized as children of God. John Deere writes, "With this beatitude, Jesus announces that God is a peacemaker. Everyone who becomes a peacemaker is therefore a son or daughter of the God of peace." With this teaching, Jesus describes the nature of God as nonviolent and peaceful. This one verse throws out thousands of years of belief in a violence in every reference to a war-making God in the Hebrew Scriptures. It does away with any spiritual justification for warfare. Instead, it opens vast new vistas in our imaginations about what the living God is actually like and what God's reign might be like. With this beatitude, we glimpse the nonviolence of heaven and join the global struggle to abolish war and pursue a new world of nonviolence here on earth. As peacemakers, we are nonviolent to ourselves, nonviolent to all others, all creatures, and all creation, as we work publicly for a new world of nonviolence. We are called to speak out against every aspect of violence: poverty, war, racism, police brutality, gun violence, nuclear weapons, and environmental destruction, and at the same time, call for a new culture of peace. Let us pray. Spirit of God, give me the openness, deep within me to recognize everyday people as made in your image and likeness. Help me to learn from others the ways of being fully alive, at peace with myself and with those around me. Give me the courage to transform those parts of myself and our world that separate and create enmity. Help me to take steps to stop the cycle of violence in our homes, in our workplaces, in our neighborhoods, in our country, in our world. May I be open to my deepest yearning for a world alive with your justice and truth, to dream of a society where all are treated with respect, and with the power of your spirit to take steps to bring it about. Amen.
Thank you, Sister Dina. Apologies for not introducing you earlier. This was Sister Dina Bato, Sister of Providence of St. Mary of the Woods. She was the one that led the opening prayer for tonight. Thank you again. So once again, before we start, I did want to address the goals for tonight's community dialogue, which can be seen on the bottom of the program. We have 3 goals for this evening. Build human rights community is number 1. Number 2, raise awareness. And number 3, move the audience to act. So please keep these 3 goals in mind. And then, as Human Rights Watch Executive Director Kenneth Roth said, that political leaders willing to stand up for human rights principles show that it is possible to limit authoritarian populist agendas. When combined with mobilized publics and effective multilateral actors, these leaders demonstrated that the rise of anti-rights governments is not inevitable. And so, if I could just introduce Teacher Jerry Clarito.
All right.
Jumping.
Yeah, all right. Since we have reached the goal center, right? So this is what we're gonna do, so that we acknowledge each one of you, because as Juanita said earlier, you took courage in coming over here. And let's find what's in your heart, why you came here. Let's start with Brian. You say your name and why you are here.
My name is Brian Lapushan, my wife Amy. We came to learn more about the human rights issues in the Philippines and around the world too. And now it's the Senator here for coming to inform us on that.
Thank you, Brian. Amy?
Yes, my name is Amy Duplichet. This is my husband. And I am glad that Faye invited us to join this organization. And we're trying to learn what's going on in our country. And we're glad, to know what is the best for the Filipinos here in the United States.
Thank you. And Amy? Eric?
Hi, my name is Eric. This is my wife, Joey. We're here with our friends, classmates. I'm a classmate of Senator Trillanes. We're from Naperville. We're not actually, we came here to support our bringing our classmates here. So we're not sure if we're invited, but we're thankful.
You are invited. You are invited. Welcome.
Senator Trillanes has to say, and what we as Filipino Americans especially can learn about our home country, the Philippines, and what we can do to better ourselves and those around us.
Oh, my name is Marlon. I voted for Duterte, but I am now very sad on what's happening in our country. I just been there last December, and I'm still more sad. So that's why I'm here, like Chief.
Okay, thank you.
My sister Gina Bato. Our motto is break boundaries and create hope. And our mission is to honor divine providence and honor divine providence and to serve God's, I'm screwing this up. basically to promote love, mercy, and justice and service among God's people. And that calls us to be wherever we are, love, mercy, and justice, and to promote that in promote peace.
Thank you. Very important. Sally?
Sally Richmond from FAHRA, Filipino American Unity. And I am here to first help in organizing and also to learn more about the issues that is happening in the Philippines, because it is very sad to hear that one of God's commandments is don't kill. So that is very important. Just that alone carries everything. All the issues that we have.
Thank you, Sally. Sir.
My name is Oliver. We came here because of the food. By the way, I'm a classmate of Senator Trillanes, and I served in the Army for 8 years with the Scout Rangers. I'm here now as a tender loving care nurse. We came here because of the truth. We're not into politics much, but I'm into Jesus. So I'm here and supporting the truth. So I just give my, I'm just a good host of my classmate here, Senator Trillanes.
Thank you.
Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. I am representing Circa Pintig, collaborating with the other organizations here tonight. But one thing that brought me here, it was my excitement para ma-meet po si Senator Trillanes. My late husband is class 76. And he was sent to the U.S. for schooling at class 74. So parang ano sila, we are within the family. If we are in the military, lalo na sa Philippine Military Academy, I feel so close to them. And actually, the other officers here, younger ones, we all often meet sa Christmas and other activities. So I am so honored to post a picture with him tonight. I sent it to my brother already. Sabi ng brother ko, big time ng pe. Bihira lang yan, ano? So anyway, I just hope that fresh updates will be brought tonight here, and that is one of the empowerment that we could get from Senator Trillanes. And I hope that if there is great power, there is great responsibility, and I hope that message will be delivered through him.
Thank you.
Salamat po.
Al?
Yeah, my name is Al. I'm the current president of the Filipino American Grandparents Association of Chicago. We've been here for 30 years already. And the reason why I'm here is I want to know the other side of the coin. We all heard about how nice things go in the Philippines, but actually we know also how bad things are going on in there. And what I heard also is that I have a nephew who was caught, with the drugs, and all of his barkada were all killed except him, because his father is the police.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you for that.
My name is Hana Center. I teach. I'm a university professor at the University of Illinois at Chicago, where the second largest, so Filipino Americans actually comprise the second largest group of Asian Americans. So many of my students are interested in these issues. So I'm hoping to take back some kind of action steps for them. So I'm looking forward to learning from you. I'm also a proud member of the Circa Pintig board.
Thank you.
I'm Gayatri Reddy. I'm also a professor at the University of Illinois at Chicago. And I'm here, like a lot of others, to find out what is happening in the Philippines right now. But also, as somebody said, there are several autocratic regimes in the world today. So to kind of reflect on sort of what's happening around us and how we can
Thank you. Thank you.
Of young officers and some soldiers. They called it the Oakwood Mutiny, and henceforth our group has been known as the Magdalo. I was one of two who served as congressman in 2013 up to 2016. However, Congressman Alejano, the other congressman, continues to serve in the lower house. I was also a former member of the military, like the Senator a member of the Philippine Military Academy class of 1999. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you. Joseph.
Well, I'm here because I'm supposed to preside over the press conference. My name is Joseph Lariosa of the Journal GlobaLinks, and I'm also a member of the Filipino American Human Rights Alliance. And of course, personally, I have lots of questions from Senator Trillanes, because when I posted his arrival in Chicago, I got a lot of complaints and praises. What is that? Passion.
Thank you, Joseph.
Hi, my name is Yoli Tubalinal, co-executive editor and publisher of FILA magazine, together with my husband, of course. We certainly believe in issues like this, and this is what we carry most in our newspaper. As you can see, we carry a lot of different issues, local and issues from the Philippines, a lot of news, and that's our way of helping the Philippines and helping also the Filipinos here. We'd like to bring out, we'd like to educate people about important issues that affect not only their lives, but the lives of their children and their children's children. So it's lamentable sometimes that while hundreds of Filipinos, Filipino Americans, would queue for the newly opened Jollibee, for example, for hours, you know, they wouldn't find the time to attend conferences like this or meetings like this. Very important. And I hope that one day soon, you know, FILA magazine would be able to contribute towards educating Filipinos and Filipino Americans and making them proactive, because that's the only way we can preserve our freedom.
Thank you.
I also thank this opportunity to be at the forefront of breaking news event. This is important. So this is my first time to meet Senator Trillanes, and this is an opportunity to be with him in this memorable occasion.
Thank you. So I guess, Senator, it looks like I already introduced you. So, sino pa?
Siya na lahat.
Hindi, lahat na. Tapos na. Floor. The floor is hiding.
Yeah, I'm Flor Clarito. I'm also with FAHRA, and I'm here to be updated about what's going on in the Philippines, and to hear firsthand from Senator Trillanes really what's the situation about the human rights in the Philippines.
Oh, thank you. So, supposedly I have to introduce the senator. But the way I did it is basically give him also a chance for the speaker to know who's in the audience, right? Why? As Joseph was saying, when he posted the event, there were some people here in Chicago who were planning to have a demonstration outside. And we welcome them. We welcome them. Because as human rights advocate, we would like to give everyone a space to speak their mind, right? So that's the process. So there are some I think items that I would like to highlight as part of my assignment. Do you know that the senator is now targeted by Duterte? Do you know that?
No.
Yes, because he is now the principal adversary of Duterte. Because the number one before was who?
De Lima.
De Lima. And De Lima was
in De Lima.
Okay. So it is really an opportunity for us to hear what the senator is going to say, right? This is not something that we just grab immediately. There was a lot of discussion because they're saying the senator is a military man. Right? So what's our bottom line? Is a military man the best person to speak against the war on drugs? So, is he well prepared to become a public servant? I guess you've heard some of the tidbits of some of you here of who Senator Trillanes is. He is well prepared. He studied at the La Salle University in Manila, where he took BS ECE, that's Electronic Communication Engineering, right? So what's an engineer doing in the Senate, right? He formally entered into public service in 1991 as a cadet in the Philippine Military Academy, where he graduated cum laude. In 2002, should I call Sonny a little bit, right? Just to establish some level of familiarity. Took up graduate studies at the University of the Philippines and got his master's degree in public administration, major in public policy and program management. For the duration of his master's program, he received 2 University Scholar Awards for obtaining 2 semestrals GPA of 1.0 and to 1.25. Right? So, hindi lang siya guwapo, matalino pa. Habulin. Ika nga. Right? Meron ako narinig dyan eh. Right? And recently, he finished the National and International Security Program at the Harvard Kennedy School in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Are we not lucky that we have the senator here? Yeah. All right. But of course, his colleague already mentioned that Sonny became prominent in his role in the uprisings directed against the oppressive Arroyo regime, which put him in jail for 7.5 years. Imagine that. In 2007, he successfully launched a nationwide campaign from his prison cell as he ran and won a seat in the Philippine Senate on a shoestring budget. He's in jail campaigning. So you will see the love of the people for our senator. So all those bashing that you see in the social media, why listen or why read all of those things? Now we have a chance to echo who is Senator Trillanes. And there are many more that we can mention in his second term. But there's something that was mentioned earlier by Gigi. And this is how we decided why we embrace Senator Trillanes. So, Human Rights Watch said that political leaders willing to stand up for human rights principles showed that it is possible to limit authoritarian populist agenda. When combined with mobilized publics, and this is us, and effective multilateral actors, and that's also us, because we are live streaming this event, and Marlon, ilan ang nagano sa'yo? Nag-hit?
Nasa 800.
800, right? So, 800. So, as you can see, whether, you know, the senator just told through his aide that 25 people would be enough for him, right? We could have actually filled up this room, but because of the weather, many were not able to come, right? So, that's a combination. This is the formula. an elected political leader plus us, right? These leaders demonstrated that the rise of anti-rights governments is not inevitable. So he has a very important role in the current situation. Right? Duterte said he is a dictator. So he already painted the wall. What will happen in the next coming months? He already told the public, I will be a dictator because Filipinos need a dictator. Right? So once again, we rely on political leaders willing to stand up for human rights principle. Our Senator Trillanes.
Thank you very much, sir, for the very generous introduction. Let me thank everyone for braving the extreme weather just to listen to this, or just to come to this very simple event. And I will do my best to make this short talk worth your trip. And let me also acknowledge my colleagues, of course my classmates. These are actually better students in PMA than myself. And former Congressman Acedillo. And the organizers, thank you very much for inviting me. Now, I'm here to give you an update about what's happening in the Philippines. So let me start on the day that Mr. Duterte assumed office. June 30, 2016, he embarked on a killing spree ostensibly based on a war against illegal drugs. He used the Philippine National Police as a killing machine, and to date, we have thousands of Filipinos killed, both from what they call legitimate police operations or what they labeled as homicides under investigation. Now, don't just take my word for it. These incidents have been documented by credible organizations like the Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, international media organizations like the BBC, Al Jazeera, and so on and so forth. The killings are real. Now, who is accountable for all these deaths? There is only one. That is Mr. Duterte. He promised during the campaign that he's going to kill Filipinos, and he did it during the first 20 months of his presidency. Then he didn't stop there. He moved on to different democratic institutions like the Senate. He fabricated charges against Senator Laila de Lima to put her away. And he did it for two reasons. One, primarily, because of his vindictive nature. He wanted to get back at her for investigating him when he was still mayor. Then the other reason is to send a chilling message to the rest of the politicians who may be either opposing directly or who may be contemplating on acting independently, as they should. So after that, he attacked the mainstream media. He threatened the owners of media outfits like ABS-CBN and the Inquirer, and recently he ordered the shutting down of Rappler, the online news outfit. Then he started demonizing the Catholic Church because he knows that the Philippines, being predominantly Catholic, at some point it would steer the moral compass back to its true course. So he started demonizing the Catholic Church in general. And then the civil society organizations, and lately even the students of UP. Now, why is he doing this? Well, primarily because he's sick. This guy is, based on his psychological profile, he is psychologically imbalanced. And I think that's one of the major differences on how I look at Mr. Duterte and how the ordinary Filipino look at Mr. Duterte. They look at him as some ordinary president or politician, while I look at him as a very dangerous man who is psychologically sick. Again, I based that assessment not on mere observation, but on the psychological profile that we were able to obtain. And it said so. His ultimate agenda, so right now, in a nutshell, what we have is a creeping dictatorship. His ultimate agenda is to set up a totalitarian regime wherein he would act like a tyrant and a king, a whimsical king. This is how he ruled Davao, and that this is how he would want to rule the Philippines. According to that psychological profile, Mr. Duterte is a narcissist. And being so, he is totally averse to criticisms and opposition. In Davao City, nobody dared oppose him. So, let's look now at that Davao City, the template of Davao City. When he won as mayor of Davao City, he immediately embarked on this war against crime and illegal drugs. The same pattern. He utilized what was later known as the Davao Death Squad. Actually, this is a squad of policemen, active policemen, who masqueraded as vigilantes. And one of them ultimately became our witness, Mr. Las Cañas, and another agent of this policeman, Mr. Edgar Matabato. So they told us a clear picture of their modus operandi. They started killing petty criminals at first. Same thing, they would shoot them defenseless, and they would plant a gun, and they will state in the report that these people resisted arrest. That's why they got killed. It's the same pattern. For the so-called vigilante operations, they just kill and leave the bodies on the streets. Duterte did this not to rid Davao City of criminals. He did this to send a subliminal message that Duterte can kill anyone he wishes to. Of course, it seems attractive to have this society of without criminals. right? For any citizen, it's the ideal scenario. And he's just asking for these individuals, his constituents, in this case the Davao City, then to just tweak your moral compass to justify killing these criminals so that you can have that ideal society where your children are safe. It sounds attractive. That's why, okay, you just look away or pretend that it didn't happen. So that's what he did. But the subliminal message is, if you cross him, you die. So at some point, somebody did, or a few people did, and they ended up dead. We have documented at least 2 media personalities who were critical of Mr. Duterte, and they ended up dead. And the people of Davao knew who ordered that killing. So, at the end of all that, it's just about controlling or sowing fear in the hearts of the people he ruled. So the next step, again, he, of course, in Davao City, there was no independent legislature. There was no independent media. There was no international media to scrutinize his actions. So he achieved the total control of society. After that, he injected anecdotes, the urban myths, wherein he would just pretend to be a taxi driver and just to get the feel of the city, or he would drive alone at night, trying to patrol the area. These are lies. These are myths injected to create a larger-than-life mayor. But these are the facts. After ruling Davao City for more than 20 years, it is still the most dangerous city in the Philippines. Number 1 in rape, number 1 in murder, number 2 in rape. These are hard statistics from the Philippine National Police itself. So how can now Duterte claim that his formula of eradicating crime is killing criminals actually works? No, everything is built on a lie. Mr. Duterte didn't do anything for Davao City. Again, if you're able to visit the area and compare it to the city adjacent to that, his city, then you'll see the difference that his city is so much better than Duterte's Davao City. He doesn't even have his own city-funded school. He doesn't have his own city-funded hospital. The hospital and the university situated in Davao City are national government funded. And that gives him the financial flexibility to use funds for his own purposes, in which case, and we have documented this, he allocated 1 billion pesos for what he called peace and order funds. And this is what we found out, that he liquidated these funds by employing ghost employees or non-existent people to get imaginary payroll, and he would get his money. So that's ultimately the original sin or the original lie that Duterte built his road to the presidency. Now, as president, he is employing the same pattern. He launched this war on drugs to sow fear in the hearts of the Filipino people so that they won't complain against Duterte, they will not rally against Duterte. Then, he did everything. His ultimate goal, as I mentioned, is to control every segment of society. But despite all his efforts, let me just say that there is hope. From the time that he assumed office and now, I saw the difference. People now are speaking up. They are mastering enough courage. They are doing events such as this so that their voices could be heard. It may not be evident, but because they're claiming Duterte still has an 80% approval rating, right? They keep on claiming that. But where did he come from? Or his rating come from? When he assumed office, his rating was, I think, 92%. Almost 93%. And the opposition, or those against him, was only 0.2%. But now, 13% are directly opposed to Mr. Duterte and his policies. And he's now down to 80%. And surveys in the Philippines are different from surveys conducted here in the United States because Americans are very engaged and they are assertive of their rights. They're not afraid of speaking out what they truly feel. In the case of Filipinos, Filipinos are good-natured. They are just living life on a day-to-day basis, and they surrender the fate of the country to the people they have elected. So they're generally indifferent. So if you feel that how come Mr. Trump, in your case, is quite unpopular compared to Mr. Duterte, who's very popular, it's not because Filipinos want somebody like Duterte. It's just because Filipinos are tolerating him, and in some cases, and these are revealed actually by the survey outfits themselves, that some of the respondents refused to answer the surveys, and that would skew the results. But these are not reported. But I'm confident, and I've seen this before in the case of former Vice President Binay, his numbers will go down because the Filipinos at some point will have a red line or a threshold which once Duterte crosses, then it's going to be a deal breaker. We feel that his numbers will go down further and further until he would be politically emasculated. And once that happens, we will see the politicians jumping to the other fence and try to invest to some goodwill for the next administration. So you have to keep your faith, and we will not give up this fight for the rights of our kababayans. And they deserve justice. On our end, what have we been doing the past 18 months or 20 months that he's in office? We have been holding the flag. We have been fighting whichever way we can for those who cannot fight for themselves. We have become the voice of the voiceless. They're trying desperately to mute out those voices through so many dirty tactics, as mentioned earlier. Duterte, well, to be frank about it, to be blunt about it, Duterte wants me killed. He has ordered people to have me killed. But for some reason, I'm still around. And it can only mean that because probably I still have a mission to do, to accomplish, and a purpose to serve. He's been trying to come up with charges similar to what they did to De Lima to put me away through the justice, to their co-opted justice system. Among other things, they're trying to mute my voice in the Senate, but You just can't. There are ways, or the truth would have its way of coming out. It's not necessarily through me. Okay, so we're gaining ground. Let me assure you that we are gaining ground, and we will get there no matter how slow, but eventually we would open the eyes of the people. And along that line, when Filipino Americans ask me, what can they do, how can they help, you just need to tell the truth. You just try to influence the people who can still be influenced. Don't waste your energy and your time trying to convince people who are so blinded by what Duterte was doing. So, hopeless na yun. Yung mga Duterte blind followers, supporters, you don't try even. Let them just realize by themselves the mistake they have done. Because it's more worthwhile to convince the great segment of the Filipino society who are still indifferent about what's happening. And based on what we've been getting from the ground, a lot of people have been turning their backs on Mr. Duterte. And to be sure, do you know of anybody who used to be an anti-Duterte conviction who turned to suddenly being pro-Duterte? None. But you know of somebody who used to be a pro-Duterte but is now an anti-Duterte, just like Marlon Chick, right? So you know that we're gaining ground. Wala eh. His base is not increasing, definitely. It is reducing by the minute. So, another concrete action that we've been doing is the filing of the ICC case. We filed it last year after we have resorted all remedies using our democratic institutions. And the good news is the ICC has recognized our communication, and they have formally announced or commenced the preliminary examination. So we're gaining ground there. And I'm sure Duterte is now shaking in his boots, or in his case slippers or whatever. So with that, I believe that's the summary, and we can get more during the question and answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Trillanes. Can you big hand applause? Thank you. Thank you again for speaking about what's happening in the Philippines and the human rights issues. I think it's very important. Oh, stand together, okay. So I know all of you guys are having some questions and comments, but before that, let's take a quick break for about 5 minutes, just to take a breather, gather your thoughts, and if you need to use the bathroom, just so you know it's going to be...
Ni Paring Bert Alejo. Kapag ang araw ay sumungaw, titindig siya at tatanaw. Sarili niya ay gigisingin, bago iba ay pukawin. Aba, at may mga sumasabay, dumadagok at sumisigaw. Hindi lahat pala'y himbing, kay rami ng ngayoy gising. The translation, The Awakener. When the early dawn appears, he will stand high and look far. He will awaken himself before. He calls on others to wake up. And lo, there are many others who beat their breasts and cry. No, not everyone is fast asleep. So many of us are now awake.
Thank you. So yun na yung sunod sa panawagan ni Senator. Hopefully, gising na tayong lahat. Ang susunod yung action. So bago mag-action, Ano ang katanungan nyo? Sino unang gusto tumanong? Magtanong. Huwag muna ang media na dahil nagkaroon na kayo kanina.
No.
Okay.
Wala na rin kami natanong.
Sige, Joey.
My friends always ask, those who are pro Duterte, they're always asking the reason you are so against him is because you once asked him to be the vice president, but he refused you. So that's why you are doing this.
That's actually a very valid question. They're trying to project the gifted lover syndrome. But here's the thing. Back in April of 2015, our group, the Magdalos, were deciding on, they've already decided that I will run for a national office and for vice president. Now we're looking for a principal with whom we could partner with in actualizing our vision for the country. So there were so many names being floated around. Of course, we have eliminated Binay, who we investigated then. Then there's Grace Poe, Marojas, and Duterte's name was being floated. I personally, I didn't know who Duterte was, except for the propaganda that was floated around, that he's a man of action and he can deliver results. So through a common friend, that meeting was arranged. It was supposed to be an exploratory meeting. So we met at this hotel in Ortigas, and at the start of the meeting, Mr. Duterte was quite straightforward in saying, let me just be straight in telling you that I'm not running for president. If you would recall, it was only during the latter part of November that he declared himself as a candidate, and all that time he was denying that he was running for president. So that's another deception there. But when I was talking to him, he flatly said that he wasn't running. So if he wasn't running, then there's nothing to reject, right? So we shifted that conversation from an exploratory talk to just a casual conversation between two public officials. On my part, I just wanted to take that opportunity to know him. I wanted to pick his brain. What are his ideas about solving some of the ills of our society? So we started talking. But here's the thing. That conversation lasted for more than an hour, and he didn't even dedicate a single second in talking about the country. All he talked about was the people he killed, how he killed them, to include graphic details of basically summary execution style murders. So I believe he wanted to impress me. Being a former soldier, he thought that I would get a kick out of such stories, but soldiers are not like that. And the effect on me was quite different. If he wanted to give up, his intention was to give a positive impression about himself, but the effect was, I was so fearful for the country in case this guy indeed later on runs, because I figured that this guy is sick. This guy has a mindset of a hitman. And it's not normal for people to talk about the people they kill. But he raised it to another level when he was openly proud of such things. So I went out of that meeting and reported to our group and told them that this guy cannot be president of this country. But then it's a good thing that he wasn't running. So we moved on. We started talking to the other principals. In this case, Senator Grace Poe. Senator Grace Poe eventually was voted on by the group as our principal. So despite the fact that she already had a vice presidential candidate in Jesus Cordero, since she was the choice of our group, I went with her still as an independent vice presidential candidate. But of course, she gave that commitment that should she win, she's going to appoint me as the Secretary of Interior and Local Government so that I could have helped in the restoration of peace and order in the land. So that's how it went. So the answer to the question is, what is there to reject when he wasn't running? Okay? But later on, when he decided to run, that's during the last week of November, the group eventually decided that we have to do everything in our power to convince the Filipino people not to vote for this guy because we know that he is a very dangerous man. Right? So we took it as our mission during the campaign to enlighten the public about who this man really was. But our problem then was this proliferation of fake news, which was yet to be exposed as a phenomenon in social media. They were so good at it. The propaganda machine of Duterte was very efficient. It was able to cover up for the numerous flaws we did during the campaign, like cursing the Pope, having this sick, great joke about the dead Australian missionary, and so on and so forth. Every time he would commit a public blunder, there would be a proliferation of these urban myths about how humble he is, how simple he was, right? So even the children, Sara Duterte and Baste Duterte, had themselves photographed eating Jollibee in the airport, right? Those pictures were so moving during the campaign. And guess what? Fast forward to today, you have Isabel Duterte having this grand debut in in Peninsula, and with some people, I think one of the media outfits estimated to have cost 10 million pesos. So look at the reality then. So eventually, everybody was hoodwinked. So that's the thing. We're opposing him because we believe it's right. This is not an easy thing to do. Mr. Duterte wants me killed. It should have been so easy for me and for our group to just go to Malacanang, bend on our knees, and kiss his ass. What a sight. But we did not do that. We trailed the difficult path. And because it's just the right thing to do.
Thank you. Senator, when you mentioned the group, you are referring to
Magdalo.
Okay, next question.
Senator, the evidence that you gave of the psychological profile of Duterte, we also heard from two other priests who spoke here last month, and they both know him from Davao. So he was described as psychological psychopath. So our rational minds cannot fight with truth or with principles of justice or equality, do we have to think like a psychopath as well in order to just kind of get to the right practical way to get to him? He has no remorse. He has no conscience. He has no sense of right and wrong. He is a human being, right? But something, there's got to be something else.
Thank you. Well, yes, ma'am. We're going to give, if there's a way for us to give a copy, we'll email a copy of the psychological profile, so you just have an idea how sick this guy is. Okay? It should have been read by everyone. The narrative there, it's not only the conclusion. The narrative there would give you goosebumps, because there are so many details there. You would feel so bad for the wife. Anyway, we'll just email it, and if you can get a copy of the email, or if you can get the email address of everyone here, we'll email it to you, and you read it from end to end, and you'll now figure out who Duterte is.
Can we post it in?
Yes, you can.
It's a public record.
It's a public record. It's one of the documents given during his annulment case. Now, the question whether do we need to be a psychopath like him? No. In this fight for what is true and what is just, we should avoid the temptation of being a monster like him, because even if we succeed, then the Filipino people would have another monster who would have dislodged him. So we will do this the right way. We will get him out of there the right way. And what is the right way? Well, the ICC case is the right way. People power is the right way. Impeachment is the right way. So we will utilize all the democratic institutions that we have to include people power, which is already decided on by the Supreme Court as a legal means of removing an incumbent president.
At what stage are we in the?
Once we have opened the eyes of the Filipino people, and that's what we're doing. The past 18 months is about opening their eyes. After that, once they know that we're speaking the truth, then these things will just fall into place.
Thank you. That's the formula. Is there something?
I have to stay here because the mic is. Senator, if I may just put in a few points. It's not really a question. One of the things that we need to understand here is that one of the ways that they're trying to get rid of the senator is not just to have him killed. One of the easiest ways that the opponents of truth use is to impugn the messenger, right? So they've called him all sorts of names. But it's important to know that the message that the senator carries, which he does not just carry, but the opposition carries, is just as important as the messenger. Who is the messenger? Because we are asking, who are we opposing, right? That's Duterte. What does he stand for? What is he really? What kind of a man is he? So what he promises you as change, yung pagbabago, yung kagandahan ng Pilipinas, saan ba nanggagaling yun? Can they be reconciled? Because to my mind, hindi. Sweet promises coming from an evil man, they never reconcile. Now, you have here a messenger for truth and justice. Can it be reconciled? I guess you know the answer. Now, Senator, permit me to bring up this anecdote. The senator's always been asked, why has he opposed the likes of, and maybe sir, you can react on this, Why has he continually opposed the likes of Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Juan Ponce Enrile, former President Jejomar Binay, and now Rodrigo Duterte? Di ba may sinasabi sila, you are not only known by what you fight for, you are also known by what you fight against. I guess that says a lot about the senator. And tinanong mo siya palagi na lang ba kayong sumasalungat? Bakit kailangan yung tayuan itong mga ito? Wala ba kayong awa sa sarili nyo? Gusto nyo ba palaging sakit na lang sa ulo at sakit sa katawan? And, no, really, he's been asked that. Senator, bakit palagi na lang kayong ganun? Wala na ba kayong hindi kakalabanin yan? Thank you for the term. And, sir, maybe you can enlighten us along that line.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ace. I was asked that question earlier. I was also asked, why can't you just collaborate with Duterte and help solving the problems of the country? Well, here's the thing. As I mentioned earlier, it would have been so easy for us to just suck up to this guy. But for some reason, I don't know, my conscience, my beliefs, my convictions just can't allow me to do that. Parang yung may sinusubo na hindi mo malunok. Okay. So, that is the reason why we have chosen to be part of the political opposition, which is an essential part of democracy. This is the voice of the minority. And being part of the minority, we need to keep on checking his abuses. And people would ask me that what I have done for the country. Well, criticizing him is what I am doing for the country, consistent with how we define democracy. And despite my criticisms against his government, I was never an obstructionist. I helped pass key pieces of legislation in this administration to include its budget. And that's a very, that's the anchor bill for every administration. I was never against its national budget. Now, Ace mentioned what's common about Arroyo, Enrile, Binay, and Duterte. You can see a pattern. These are not paragons of public service. They're not. They're crooks, right? And it's what we're doing is not easy. It's not pleasurable, and I truly wish that we could have avoided this. That I am not the one doing this, because I have been in prison for almost 7.5 years, and that was a difficult phase in my life, regardless of the fact that in a way I believe it may be a better man, but I don't want to go through that. But we're losing by default. Somebody needs to do it. So here I am. And once we have embraced that role, and there's no turning back. One of us would fall, and based on our track record, it was never us. Right? Lahat ng kinalaban namin natumba. We're still standing up. I don't know. Probably we're doing something right.
Thank you. Time check. Gigi, ano ba?
It is 7:53.
So what do you think? Still not, okay, so Jesse, sino pa isa? Chip? Emmy?
You want to check if the answer is also ready for 4 more questions?
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Sige.
Ay nga pala, for the Bicolanos, maray na banggi sa ito, boss.
Isang thumbs up para sa mga Bicolano. Buragon!
Senator, I believe that ito pong tungkol sa drugs na problema natin ngayon ng ating bansa it's more of a moral and a health issue. Hindi po ibig sabihin lahat ng puser na mga karamihan ay mahihirap din natin ang mga kababayan ay papatayin niya lang ng ganoon. Dahil lang po sa ganoong bisyo na dahil sa kanilang mga problema na hindi ma-resolve ay humahantong sa ganitong gawain. At hindi naman makuha yung mga mismong galing the main source of those illegal drugs. It's more of an international syndicate thing. Ngayon po, bilang isang senador, Senator Trillanes, ay pwede po ba makapagsulong ng isang matibay na at malakas na batas upang patungkol pa po sa pagsulong ng pagresolba sa issue na ito tungkol sa drug addiction na sa ganoon ay mapalakas ang ating mga health agencies and moral institutions na sila ang maka-aksyon dito sa ganitong issue ng Pilipinas. Salamat po.
Salamat.
Okay. Salamat po. What we need is more than a law. What we need is a comprehensive national policy against illegal drugs. And this would address all the components of the problem to include the supply side of the problem, meaning enforcement. If we stop the importation of illegal drugs, the manufacture of illegal drugs, then there won't be anything to buy and to use, right? That's one side of it. Then for those caught, what do you do with them? We need to create special drug courts because the current drug system has already been compromised. They're looking at the loopholes so that they're able to go around it. Now, we also need to create special detention facilities because right now, some of the drug lords in the country are operating inside the National Penitentiary. So, that's why we need special detention facilities to make sure that they won't be able to operate anymore. Then, we need, on the demand side, we need a comprehensive and extensive indoctrination against the use of illegal drugs in schools, communities, churches, and families, so that those who have yet to touch illegal drugs would be made aware of the ill effects of these drugs on their lives, on their future, so as to discourage them for even trying. Then next, for those who have been hooked on illegal drugs, we should give them that opportunity to be rehabilitated so that they can be reinserted into mainstream society. And how do we do that? We need to establish a rehabilitation center in every municipality in the country. We don't have that in the Philippines. So it should be holistic, and it can be done without killing a single Filipino. Now, yung sinabi nyo na thousands have been killed by Duterte. Remember, these are not proven even to be drug users. Huh? Their names were just listed down arbitrarily by the barangay officials. So I'm not even ready to say that the people he killed are 100% drug users. Even now, even on the assumption that they are, it's not even a crime in the Philippines to be a drug user. Okay? If, for example, you walk in a police station and admit, I'm a drug user, they cannot even charge you with anything. It's not a crime. Now, even if it is a crime, what is the commensurate, is death the commensurate price for that? The penalty for that? No. Right? So, it's such a mess. It's wrong on so many angles. But we can link this problem and I'm confident.
Okay. Thank you. Sige.
My question is also related to these illegal drugs. China remained the top source of illegal drugs smuggled in the country, and that drug laboratories are still rampant. Is there anything that we can do? This is according to PDEA spokesperson, Carion.
Well, that's precisely our point. He has already killed 10,000 plus. By the way, the last count is 4,000 killed during legitimate police operations and 16,000 homicides under investigation. So that's 20,000. He has killed already that much, that many, and yet the problem persists. And worse, it's the son of Mr. Duterte who's involved in the importation. And he didn't even lift a finger in getting who's behind it, because it's basically looking at the mirror. So that's the problem. It's a sham. It's not a real war against illegal drugs. Again, I go back to my earlier statement. It is about striking fear in the hearts of the Filipino people so that they will not stand up against him, they will not criticize him, and then he would now rule like a king.
As a follow-up question, Senator, why is there no Chinese drug lord even convicted in this case?
That's the question, because Paulo Duterte is a member of the Chinese triad.
Wow.
I mentioned that in the hearing. And the number one drug lord, according to PDEA and the Philippine National Police, who is identified as a certain Peter Lim, is a compare of Mr. Duterte. Kaya walang kaso. Right? Ganun po. So,
okay. Chief, and then...
Just a small question.
Okay, mag-question ka muna.
Mapapalis ng konti. How is the problem now with the islands that is being... Yes, like being seceded to China? What's the update on that?
okay, as I mentioned earlier, we already we have won the arbitration case, and that basically negated the claim of China that they own everything that's inside the South China Sea or West Philippine Sea. But the problem is Mr. Duterte has failed to assert our victory, and worse, he's basically giving it away. He's letting China do their thing, not only in the West Philippine Sea area, and now even in the Benham Rice area, which is in the Pacific. They have no claim there ever, and now they're doing their thing in the Benham Rice. So, lahat ng problema na to si Duterte. Okay? So,
So, ganito, no? Hindi natin mauubos yung tanong eh. So, here's my suggestion, Senator. So, for you who really would like to ask more questions, just direct it to me, and then I'll forward it to the Senator. Is that okay? Okay, so.
I just wanted to honor the question from a friend and colleague he's Anton Juan, director in professor of Notre Dame University. He just recently staged Shakespeare's adaptation of RD3 in Manila, in Ateneo de Manila. Actually, the worst dictator or tyrant in the history of Europe. So I'm going to read his question because he couldn't come out here because of the snow. Good evening, Senator, and my deep respect for your courage. My question for you is, I commend you for your exposure of the Hong Kong triad. Surely your allegations are based on information that is difficult to pursue because of the underground connections with international global mafia and gang trade of drugs connected with politically corrupt systems. May I know if any of these have got to do with EJK? Of course. And if there is outright protection by Duterte of these higher echelon of drug lords in the Philippines, while the lower involved runners, including youth and children and dealers, are slaughtered for their knowledge of who are the bosses and who are the bosses involved?
Well, that's basically what's happening. As I mentioned, the killings, the EJKs have nothing to do with the eradication of illegal drugs. He's doing it for that purpose. He wants to control everyone. In the meantime, he has protected the identified drug lords in the country, and his son was already implicated. So they're controlling the drug trade. This partnership with China is, we're still looking deeper into that, and it may reveal something or so much more. But we're not prepared yet to divulge what we're finding out until kompleto na. So, ganun yan. They're protecting his people, kaibigan, kumpare niya, and in the meantime, the man on the streets, the poor people are being killed.
Okay. Just time check again, Gigi.
8:06.
Okay. So we have to be out of this building by 8:30. Okay, and so we still have several items in the program. Who else are? Just the last one then. Anna, do you have a question? Okay, the last question. Ellie.
Senator, I see a danger in what is happening right now in our country in connection with the proposed amendment to the Constitution. First of all, the lower house likes to abolish or do away with the Senate by voting for constitutional assembly, because the theory is they can overrule the number of the senators, who are only 24 in comparison with the more than 200 representatives. Now, I don't know if they are doing it just to please the President, Duterte, because he is for federalism. Now, I feel that the Senate wants a constitutional convention, or at least Congress voting separately, so that the majority of the senators and majority of the congressmen can form bicameral opinion or decision Now, what is your position in this kind of making an amendment to the Constitution?
Okay, I believe that I maintain my position that we don't need to amend the Constitution because I believe that there's nothing wrong with the system that we have right now. What is wrong is how the people in power are operating the system. So we need to run that system properly first, so that we know that whether it's going to work for us or not. Okay. So having said that, I believe based on our information and our analysis, the plan of Mr. Duterte is to declare a nationwide martial law using the NPAs as a pretext. Then, once he's able to achieve that, he will shift to a revolutionary government. Then, having failed that, so that's plan A. Plan B is the charter change. That federalism thing is just a reason for them to tinker with the Constitution. So while they're tinkering with the Constitution, he would have a transitory provision wherein the president would be Duterte still for the next so many years beyond his term. Then in the meantime, he would have the power to legislate similar to what Marcos had during martial law. And plan C, when all else fail, he would feel probably Sara Duterte to replace him in 2022, just so he would be protected legally, and he won't be able to, he won't be prosecuted and sent to jail. That's his plan. Don't worry too much about that federalism thing, because the last time I checked, 23 or we're now 22 sitting senators. 21 of the senators are openly opposed to the voting jointly, and we won't even allow ourselves to be constituted as a constituent assembly. So we're okay on that front. Now only one is in favor, and that is the great Senator Manny Pacquiao. So I believe we're still good. Okay, mababantayan namin yung respeto na yan. But what we're really guarding against is the declaration of martial law nationwide. Ano na to? He's panicky, and especially with the ICC, he just might pull the trigger. So yun po ang kailangan natin patayan.
Okay. Yung bantay na yun, will continue get connected, right? Kasi I think we already know that we have a role to play in this game, right? All right. So I think nasa call to okay, palakpakan naman natin sila. All right.
Marcha na tayo.
After dun sa mga senaryong binigay ni Senator, we also prepared something na we thought we would like to offer to you to get connected. Remember, our goals are basically to expand the community of human rights or a human rights community. We want to build that. And hopefully when you sign up, we will send you again information. Please sign up, right? We need to expand our number. Right? Number 2 is to raise awareness. And hopefully, did we raise our?
I think so.
Yeah. What do you think?
Buhay na buhay.
Buhay na buhay, right? And number 3 is move audience to act. And this is now Nita. I'm sorry, Gigi.
You know, many of us grew up in our youth trying to remove whatever colonial mentality we have we really tried to wash ourselves, so that's what you're thinking. But you know what? We do need American support, realistically, because Senators Marco Rubio from Florida and Senator Ben Cardin from Maryland have sponsored Senate Bill 1055. It's entitled Philippine Human Rights Accountability and Counter-Narcotics Act of 2017. So there's an attempt in the U.S. legislature, bipartisan, and Ben Cardin is also the head of the Lantos Human Rights Commission that does hearings. So, do you have copies of this petition to the U.S. Congress? No. Ay, natutulan tayo ng papel. Okay. So, here are... Brian, please, pakibigay. So, the Senate Bill 1055 has these purposes. One, restrict arms sales to the Philippine National Police. So maybe, Senator, that's like babawasan yung supply ng baril. Second, to provide Senator Leahy vetting reports on foreign assistance cases related to the Philippine National Police. Thirdly, provide the annual State Department report on Chinese and other sources of narcotics to the Philippines. So maybe the State Department with its arms can discover more narcotics going into the Philippines. Fourth, this is very important, provide $25 million of aid for human rights, democracy, and public health promotion. We're talking about rehab programs. And lastly, provide the State Department report on U.S. military assistance and arms transfers to the Philippines. So if you are willing to begin a simple action of putting your name down on a piece of paper, we are collecting support for this petition for Rubio and Cardin. And we're asking our own senators from Illinois. I'm losing my memory.
Durbin and Tommy Duckworth.
Tommy, yes. Durbin and Tommy Duckworth to support Rubio and Cardin as co-sponsors of this Senate 1055. So, everybody has a pen? Sign the petition. That's the first action. And then, there are other actions that the senator said. I think what we'll do is we will do a summary and send it all to you in your sites, in the email address, right? And if you're all willing to give your email address to the senator, he will also continue to connect with us. Maybe we can be his support group.
His connection, Chicago connection.
His Chicago connection, and it's not to the mafia, right? Okay.
Thank you, Titanita. So, like she mentioned, please sign the 1055 Act so that we can get support for that. So this about concludes this community dialogue with Senator Trillanes. Thank you again for braving the snow to come out here. I know we have a lot more snow to come, but it was great to see so many people come out tonight. Thank you again for Senator Trillanes and his great speech. One more hand for him for coming out tonight. So before we close today's community dialogue, we're going to have a closing prayer with Sister Dina. She will go ahead and lead that. Oh, and we will also be taking a picture later, so please get your slides ready. Let us pray.
Good and gracious God, we thank you for loving and caring enough for us that you gave us your Son, Jesus, to give his life on the cross so we can have divine life as we receive him, the risen Savior. We will continue to uphold and prayer Senator Trillanes on his unflinching stand in opposing the unjustified killing of innocent lives. We also pray for your protecting hand upon those who are courageously voicing out their beliefs in the sacredness of all of life. But we also open the eyes of understanding for President Duterte to realize that his violent policy in the war on drugs is ungodly and blatant violation of basic human rights. May your blessing, guidance, and protection be upon all of us who will be driving home in these challenging weather conditions. We love you and your people, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Sister Nina. And then as a final conclusion, we will be doing a community song, Di Mo Ba Narinig? Sorry, I'm not good, but with Tita Faye.
Yay! Okay, let's remain standing, but I have to confess, this is my first time to really sing this one in Tagalog version, but I'd like to call in front with me my recruited singers. Joey, Acedillo, please come forward, Joey. Please, I'm begging you. Maria Almonares. Maria,
Silipin mo.
Ang mga puso na hindi ay mag-iyak. Isingin ang mga fanatikong bingit ko lang. Ito ba narinig? Di ng bayan na galit. Ito ng Pilipinong inuling kalulubing, dudurugin ang dilim, ang araw ay pag-alam, ang mga puso na't hindi magliliyam. Magmumukot sa mga taong gulong, isipin ang puso, iba narinig, tinig ng bayan na galing, tinig ito ng Pilipinong imuling malulupig, dudurugin ang dilim, ang araw ay paalam, mga puso na hindi magliliyam.
My name is Joseph Lariosa of Journal GlobaLinks. I am representing Senator Senator, you will not be eligible for re-election in 2019. What are your plans?
Well, the plans at the moment is to enroll for graduate studies, and also if I can have a PhD after.
Okay, there were criticism when I quoted your records. They say you are not being truthful. Like in the case of, I think in the Senate, you are not able to get this vote of the Senate. We like tobacco and probably Las Cañas. Number two, no, we cannot. They said that you are like precisely that you are covering up your involvement in drug activities like and other money that you take from your office.
Okay, let me address the DAP or DAP issue. You can just imagine if Mr. Duterte has anything against me, do you think he would still withhold it? Remember, this guy, Mr. Duterte, fabricated supposed offshore bank accounts under my name, and which he later on admitted that he invented. So, if he has anything against me, why won't he just expose this?
Right? He doesn't need to resort to inventing offshore bank accounts if he has something against me. But the thing is, all these are just part of their propaganda. And when I went up against Senator Enrile, they also tried to
Can we do a little bit of housekeeping?
Anything against me, particularly funds regarding the DAP or DAP. And later on, it was proven to be Enrile himself who was involved in the DAP scam. So they try as they may, but they won't be able to find anything because there is.
So, what you're saying of your alliance? What do you say?
I don't know when. At what point? No. They're saying they're going to point out an instance where I lied. Then, how come that they turn a blind eye to the lies of Mr. Duterte? His lies are documented. They have video recordings of specific lies that these people are saying that I lied. How come they're not complaining about those things?
They're saying that when you run out of you will claim even with barangay captain.
Well, really disappointed.
Okay, so yes or no? In the federal amendments to the Constitution, anti-political
No, definitely.
Last question.
I am against the use of political dynasty to control local or national the politics in those areas. But the thing is, dynasty per se is not the problem. The problem is not making them accountable. Because whether you have a relative in government or not, if you commit actual corruption, you should be made accountable, right? But if you're a public official and you're not stealing and you're delivering public service, regardless whether you have a blood relative in government, then why should you be penalized? I'm all for that.
Okay, political contributions. Are you in favor that it should go to the political party as a person?
It should go to both for as long as it's transparent.
Okay, thank you very much, and nice to meet you, Senator. I hope I will see you. No longer senator, but maybe president or vice president. God bless.
God bless sir. God bless sir.
Thank you for coming to Chicago.
Videography, video editing, and reporting. This is Joseph Lariosa of the Journal GlobaLinks in Chicago, Illinois.